Welcome back, everyone. This is Timber Wolf. I'm going to be discussing Introduction to Ethical Hacking with you. So let's get started. So we're going to have some objectives. The module objectives will be to overview of the current security trends. We're going to understand the elements of information security. We're going to understand information security threats and attack vectors. And we're going to discuss an overview of hacking concepts, types, and phases, as well as understanding ethical hacking concepts and scope. And we're going to be discussing the overview of information security management and defense in depth strategies. So that's not defense, we're going to be discussing defense in depth strategies, right? So they talked about how this was a 100% offensive course, nothing to do with defense. But obviously we are going to be discussing some defense as well, quite a bit actually along the way. We're going to be discussing an overview of policies, procedures, and awareness. Which are your procedural controls, policies and procedures and awareness to keep your people sharp versus just trusting and being dependent on tools. Part of the defense in depth is to spread out your defense posture. So you can do that through your workforce and your appliances, right? So right off the bat there, in the first two bullets, we're doing both of those, defense in depth, and we have procedural controls in place to help with that, right? So we have an overview, we're going to discuss an overview of physical security and controls. So like with physical security, we'll be talking about that quite a bit too when we get to the cloud part of this course. Understanding incident management process. So what does it mean to handle incident management? We'll get into that. Overview of vulnerability assessments and penetration testing. So we're going to be discussing that quite a bit along the way. The difference between a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, which together those are called a security assessment. So most of the time when people order a penetration test, that is not what they get. They get a vulnerability scan, right? Which is not what you want. You need to understand that cold. And then an overview of information security acts and laws. So we'll get into that as well. So we're going to be discussing information security overviews, information security threats and attack vectors, like where are our threats and attacks coming from? What posture does my network have that can be attacked? Where are my weaknesses? Where do I need to spend money hardening? That kind of stuff. So that's kind of what number 2 is about. And then number 3, hacking concepts, types, and phases. So what is the life cycle of a hack? What does it look like? How am I going to be susceptible to this kind of thing? You know what I mean? How is this going to be thrown at me? We're going to talk about that so you can understand it. The more you understand how they think, the more you can understand how to defend. And we're going to be talking about both of those, so you'll get that. So we're not training people how to get into your network. You need to understand 100% how they think and what they do and be able to do what they do to be able to defend properly. We are training you to be defensive, not offensive, even though that is what they said the class was about. So ethical hacking concepts and scope. So we're going to discuss ethical hacking, the concepts of it and scope, and the differences between hacking concept types and phases, right? So we're going to compare and contrast there a little bit. And then we're going to have a discussion about information security controls, what those may look like, what's available today. And then information security laws and standards. So the internet is an integral part of business and personal life. What happens online in 60 seconds? So we have YouTube, Pinterest, Google, WordPress, email, Amazon, people buying, selling, using their computing power. It's not just about shopping, right? Amazon has a lot of stuff, watching movies, entertainment. We have Snapchat, Skype, people communicating. iTunes, music, it's huge. Video is also huge. Instagram, Twitter, people communicating, letting each other know what's going on. That's a huge attack vector right there. Facebook, YouTube, so on and so forth. So this is kind of a breakdown of what happens in 60 seconds on the internet. And we're going to discuss some breaches along the way of this course. So for example, there was a data breach at Target and Home Depot. And the IRS just had a big one as well. So did the government. They had some information stolen from a bunch of military personnel that had security clearances. So then they can either trick someone into thinking that they're one of those people and get a job, and maybe they can fake that security clearance is theirs and be exposed to that sensitive information. Big problem with that, right? The IRS has record stolen, which is giving people identities. So now those people can present those identities and file more taxes and get money free back from the government. For somebody else that paid in, they get their refund. So the people that paid in all that extra money that they shouldn't have paid in, people think that I get my tax money back, that it's money from the government, but really it's just overpayment along the year. What you want to do is you just want to pay in enough. So I bet that people are going to learn this fact now and probably start paying less and less in, so they get it about just right, right? Because you're giving the government free use of your money for that extra time, that whole year. So there's a chart floating around out there about the year of the mega breaches. So we've had really big breaches now. But the thing is they're just coming to light. Those people have been owned for a long time. They've had people, their networks have been compromised for a long time. They're not new. They're just becoming, they're becoming more and more public. So they've been going on. They're not new. And then the number of records stolen before they catch it is new. So people are stealing massive amounts of information because of the network speeds, and storage on the other end is becoming cheaper and cheaper. They have a place to store. Usually they just use your network as the repository. They just go and got what they needed. So if you want 6,000 credit cards, I'll go get you 6,000. You want another 6,000, I'll get you another 6,000. They just go back and forth to the network and get it. Well, today our controls are becoming a little better. People are starting to check this stuff more. They're finding out how people are getting in through penetration testing and security assessments. So we're starting to understand that things are happening. They're putting monitoring deep packet inspection over encrypted channels. So we're starting to see that there are hackers on networks. And so it's becoming a little more public. It's not, oh my gosh, what happened this year? Why are there so many breaches? These things have been going on for years and years. They're just finding out about them. So it's just, it's not something new.